Russ Thaler here in the HQ studios. We welcome in Dennis Dodd and Josh Pate from Sanford Stadium in Athens, Georgia, where the defending champs put on a statement performance in a battle of number ones. And Dennis, I'm going to start with you. What is your headline coming out of this? You just witnessed it in person.
You know what? The first thing I thought of as the game went on, because this, Josh, like you said, this seemed more like 44-6 than 27-13. What business does Georgia have being in this position, 9-0, going for a second consecutive national championship after losing 15 draft choices, 5 of them in the first round, missing their best defensive player, Nolan Smith, and having, as we found out later, 2 guys from the defensive line had the flu and didn't go tonight? That's a long headline, but that's my headline.
Yeah, so let me see if I can shorten mine up a little bit. I thought, and this is not part of the headline, Russ. I thought, and here's your headline. I don't remember a single Tennessee wide receiver ever running free the entire afternoon. And keep in mind, every one of us has such a vivid, fresh recollection in our mind of Jalen Hyatt just running loose in the Alabama secondary, and it was none of that today. And then Kirby talked about once the rain set in, it was really nice to have a multi-possession lead because nothing really was going to happen through the air after that. But it is so incredible. We got into the fourth quarter here, and if you do your math right, which I'm not the best at, but Dennis, there was a point here late in the game where Tennessee had 1 more point on the board, 6, than Georgia had total defensive first-round draft picks last year, which was 5.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, Kirby talked about it in the postgame, how physical he wanted to be this week. We know Georgia's always physical, but there's an offensive side to this. Georgia, to me, totally resembled what Tennessee was supposed to be.
Yeah.
At least early, they took shots. And they took shots because they knew they could take shots against, we talked about it before the game, not a depleted secondary, just isn't that good.
Right.
And so Ladd McConkey, who looks like, Phil, obviously, is that type of receiver. So they go over top to him. They go over top early to one of the other receivers. And at that point, at halftime, it just seems like it's over. Good stat, they led 24-6. Georgia is 117-1, leading by 18 here since 2004. The only loss was to Tennessee in 2005. So there's your little nugget.
Hendon Hooker was the guy everybody was looking at coming into here, the Heisman hype and all that around him. First of all, what happened? And second of all, how far does he fall? Is he Heisman done at this point?
Ooh, man. I mean, yeah, I think probably so, because we needed to see a big performance here today. And, of course, if you had a big performance, which was correlated with a win, that was going to take you to Atlanta, and Heisman ballots are due the morning after the SEC championship game. So I would say yes. As for what happened, Dennis, I mean, you and I were here on a bright and sunny Friday afternoon, and we talked in great detail about how physical Georgia planned to get out wide. Was over at the facility last night, and those defensive coaches were not shy about telling you they may get some big plays on us. We will blitz him all night. It was kind of like a more tempered scene out of Remember the Titans. Just a blitz all night, and they remember, Tennessee will remember for a long time the night they played the Bulldogs.
Well, they got 6 sacks. Georgia got 6 sacks tonight, a lot of them late, but there was always pressure. It just seemed like there was a hand or a body in his face. I give Hendon Hooker credit. He stands in there.
Yeah.
He stands flat-footed. I don't know if people notice. He stands flat-footed in the pocket. He does not bounce. And he stood in there and took the shots. They didn't have any yak. You mentioned that. No yard. I'd say no yards after a catch. They had a touchdown. So what? Garbage time lately. That was the biggest thing to me defensively for Georgia. Everything in front of them, roughed them up when they didn't have the ball, and when they did have the ball, I think Jalen Hyatt got knocked out for a while. And so that was a plus. But I think it was all that.
All right, last thing, Josh, and it actually goes back to what Dennis was saying right at the top, replacing all those NFL talent on the Georgia team and still coming back. Has Georgia leveled up to the point where they're not just the defending champions, not just an excellent program, but they're starting to get into that Alabama territory of it's next man up, and every year now we should just start expecting Georgia to do things like this, just reloading instead of rebuilding?
Yes, I think they're there. And we keep seeing these examples put in front of us. You face Bama in the national championship game, you get a win. But detractors could say, yeah, they beat you in Atlanta the month before. It's really so overarching, though. It's not coming down to one four-quarter example. But Dennis and I just came out of Kirby's press conference, and he was so emphatic. More than talking about any one player, he specifically made mention that this was a performance without ego, which I think is a real buzz phrase in the coaching community for we had total buy-in this week, and they were banged up. They played without some guys today, but he made a very, very good point. When he kept being asked about how many guys you lost to the draft, he kind of said in a paraphrase fashion, we didn't bring the guys who are starting now here to be backups. They came here to be starters, and if you're seeing them on the field in the red and black, that means they were some of the best in the country coming out of high school, but there's not that drop-off. You expect technical errors, you expect missed tackles, you expect blown coverages, especially against a team like this that's supposed to put the pressure on you. And there was none of that. I don't know that you'll ever hear them say this. I think maybe they even walk away a little surprised at how well they played defensively today.
I agree. And that to me is the column for me. It's like we're living history in real time. Nick's done, 10 draft picks and 6 first-rounders. I think 9 draft picks and 5 first-rounders. 15 and 5? Are you kidding me? With a chance to win back-to-back for the first time since. Alabama did it in 11 and 12. And again, that's why he came here. Yes, it's his alma mater. Yes, he wants to not resurrect Georgia because they weren't down. They just weren't over the hump.
Right.
He wants to make them Alabama and prove whatever, to him, to Nick, to the fans, whatever, that it can be done here. Because this is one of the few places it can, where you, while you're transitioning, while you have a gap year, which Alabama did last year, almost won the damn thing, that you can still win the damn thing. And that's what Georgia is doing right now.
Dennis Dodd and Josh Pate. Gentlemen, thank you so much for all of your hard work from UGA this week. First person account. Can't beat it. And for more of the good stuff, check out The Late Kick with Josh Pate. You'll get all the scoops from Josh's network of insiders. It's The Late Kick with Josh Pate. You can check it out wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.